Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another very interesting figure here. We've got ourselves a Colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex that actually is not made by Mattel, but very clearly is meant to kind of be a Mattel-like Colossal T-Rex. The packaging and everything is like the same style as what you find for, you know, the Mattel Colossal stuff. So it's got pretty much the same look. Pretty cool packaging, actually. And as you can see, it states Dinosaur World down here in the bottom left-hand corner. This figure is something that I actually spotted on Smyths in the United Kingdom, but since they don't ship to the United States, I actually had inquired about Marco grabbing this one and sending it my way, which he very kindly accepted and of course did so. So a massive thank you, as always, has to go out to my good buddy Marco Makes for helping me to get a hold of this one. And I'm not even entirely sure why I wanted it so badly, but I really did. I think it just looks like a super cool, gigantic Tyrannosaurus figure. And you can see again the packaging looks really quite nice here on the front. As we turn it to the side, you see pretty much the same T-Rex right there. But once we turn it to the actual back, you've got another shot of the figure itself, and you can see again it does look pretty cool and kind of Mattel-like, but at the same time also having its own personal charm, which is one of the other reasons why I think I quite like this T-Rex. So we're going to go ahead and pop this giant box open and check this out. So I have the T-Rex laying here basically looking deceased at this point. Because of course it's not fully assembled, and I instantly have run into a problem with this one. It does have a cheap feel when you pull it out, and that is definitely a guarantee that it is in fact cheap, because the one leg is actually broken. The piece is broken off, well, one piece is actually broken off inside the leg, one piece is broken off inside the body, so I'm honestly not even sure if I'm going to be able to assemble the figure entirely, so that's an instant problem here. But it does look kind of cool. Once you actually get it out of the package, it does have a fairly cool look to it. It's obviously nowhere near as nice as like a Mattel Colossal T-Rex, though the eye does look pretty cool. It's definitely got like a decal in there, which does allow a pretty highly detailed look to the eye. And they also have a nice gloss coat on the eye, which of course also helps to make the eye look pretty good. The sculpt and everything is alright. Again, the detail isn't super impressive. It is fairly abundant, but not incredible. We have the nostrils sculpted out, which are highlighted with a darker tone right there. You have a little variation to the different shades of browns here in the face. You could see like a light brown, a slightly darker shade of brown that you can see moving down here, and then you've got a really dark tone that is a very dark brown, but as you move up it kind of turns into some areas having like a really dark grayish look as well. The figure does sport some articulation in both the upper and lower jaws, which is nice, but unfortunately, as you can see, it doesn't quite stay in place, so the second you let it go, it just falls back down. The lower jaw also doesn't move a whole lot. That's pretty much all you get as far as that goes, so not the greatest in that aspect. You can see the teeth look okay. They are sculpted decently, no real detail or anything to them, but they look okay. They are painted with a grayish tone and do have a nice satin shine to them, and also you can see this little area over here has kind of like that skin flap that leads up. That's kind of sculpted decently, but not really that great. It does have kind of like a maroonish sort of a tone, and then when you go inside the mouth, you do actually have a really nicely sculpted tongue in there, which does have some decent texturing and some okay detail on the upper side of the inside of the mouth as well. It actually looks more highly detailed on this on the inside of the mouth than a Mattel T-Rex, which is nice. Also, as you can see, the throat of the dinosaur actually kind of goes back pretty far, so you can sort of replicate that kind of action feature that you see on like Mattel Tyrannosaurs, where it can swallow figures. The only problem is you just have to get something in there that can then fall back out, because it doesn't have any sort of an opening on the underside like the Mattel Tyrannosaurs do to retrieve that piece once it goes in. But as you move back, again, the skin texture continues to look okay. Leading along the spinal column, you kind of see like larger scales, fairly generic skin texture as you lead along, but not really, you know, bad. It just doesn't look super impressive. I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know if we have articulation here. It doesn't, I mean, it looks like we do, but it doesn't seem to be moving. So there's just kind of like an annoying seam right there. You can see the throat of the T-Rex down here. As we move down into the body, you do actually have arm articulation, which can go up pretty high. and then go back pretty decently as you lead along. Again, some more variations of browns with that really dark brown moving along the back, and then a nicer, almost like an orangish brown as you move down, and then a lighter tone, kind of like a tan as you move further down. The arm sculpt looks okay. You've got some muscle definition. We have, again, that darker brown that disappears as you lead down. You also can see the lighter tone for the rest of the arm, and then kind of like some scoots down the fingers, and the claws are painted, which is nice, especially when it comes to hand claws. We don't get that too often from Mattel. We've also got the elbow back there. Leading up into the stomach, we have kind of like really bumpy scales, almost like osteoderm-like scales up there, which looks okay. As you lead up, again, you've got some more decent looking detail, but nothing overly impressive. As we lead back here, of course, we've got the area for the legs, where the legs definitely should be sitting right now, but I'm really not sure how to proceed, because once I put the one leg on, it's going to really make it difficult to then get that piece on the inside to apply back to the other leg. I don't know if there's any way I can glue it or not. I'm not really sure what to do about that. But as you lead back, again, you've got pretty much the same style of skin texture, pretty much the same style of sculpt as you continue to lead along. The tail's pretty long as I'm smacking things. It's actually not like proportionate with the body. It is definitely too short for the body, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still a pretty long figure. But as you move back, do we have any articulation there? Nope. No, we don't, of course, but we do have articulation here. So it does go up, down, left, right, and can swivel. So you've got some okay articulation in the tail as you lead out. Again, we have some okay sculpt pretty much the entire way through. It kind of follows the same trend and same style as far as the sculpt the entire way out. If we actually turn the figure around, you're going to see pretty much the same thing, except for the fact that the head actually does turn slightly toward the dinosaur's left, which is a little different from, you know, your standard Colossal Mattel figure, because normally the head's pretty straightforward on the Mattel releases, but this one does have its head turned away from us a little bit. But as you move through, again, the rest of the figure is pretty much the same. You could just kind of move over here to get a little bit of a better look at the ending of the tail, because it does curve in this direction. You can see it's kind of like a bulky ending there to the tail, not really all that pointed or anything, but the figure's decent as far as the sculpt, and the paint is okay, nothing really to write home about. It's not a terrible figure, and would definitely be a fun one to have if it wasn't such a cheap quality that obviously it broke in transit. As far as the leg goes, this is the leg that is broken. You can hear the other piece in there. If you look, you can see it's kind of all broken off in there, and not doing so well currently. But as you move down through the leg, you've got the muscle definition displayed here. Again, more of those dark browns, some of the skin texture that we saw on the main body with that kind of larger, rough and rugged feel. As you lead down, you do have the knee. You've got a nice variation of a brown that my camera doesn't want to focus on. Moving down the front of the leg as you lead down into the shins. You've also got the calf muscle right here that is nicely defined, and then you lead down into the foot sculpt, and the foot sculpt does have like your traditional, almost Jurassic Park style T-Rex foot sculpt with some scoots down the toes, a little sprinkle of that dark brown, and then you've got the claws again painted out here. That my camera just keeps going and focusing on that leg back there for some stupid reason. I don't know why it wants that one, but you can see again the claws are painted with a black. There's a little chip in the paint right there. We do have dew claws, but of course they are unpainted. I don't know if we have articulation. Yes, we do. So we do have a swivel in the ankles, very Mattel-like as far as that goes. And I'd imagine the leg, if it could in fact connect to the body, would probably articulate forward and back as well. And then we also have the other leg, which I haven't even pulled out of the plastic yet. So here's the other leg. You can now see, again, it looks pretty much the same. Again, same swivel articulation in the foot. You've got the, or actually in the ankle, you've got the foot sculpt again looking pretty decent. But this is what the inside of the leg should look like. So you can now see how this one, again, is broken. So once I connect this one, I'm then going to have a serious problem trying to connect this leg. So don't know what to do, but I'm going to try to figure that out, and we'll bring it back when it is assembled. So here is the T-Rex now assembled, and honestly, I just basically put the leg in. It's just sitting in there. It can pull out very easily. There's not really much else that can be done for it after really trying my hardest for a very long time to even grab the pieces inside the leg and try to connect them and glue them. It's just impossible. Like, you really would get nowhere, and it would take a lot of work to even do that. And the glue most likely wouldn't really hold very well, so it'd probably pop off anyway. So I'm able to just kind of slide the leg in and keep it in the position that it needs to be in for it to stand. So far, in any position that I've tried, which is good. So, you know, it's not like it's a total loss. I still have the figure here. It's just that one leg will never fully be connected. So, you know, kind of like a little disclaimer, I guess, when it comes to this one. If you do buy it, if you're in the United Kingdom, you might be okay. It won't have to travel so far if you order it from Smyths. But if you're like me and you're out of the country and you want to try to get it, you know, basically imported to you, it might be questionable because it may not survive the trip. But it also could have just been a one-off. You know, maybe it was broken already in the Smyths warehouse and they didn't know and shipped it out. So I have no idea, but I can tell you that this one definitely suffers from some damage. But I can also tell you, once it is actually assembled, it does look really cool. Definitely cooler than I was expecting. And kind of has like that 90s feel to it, I think, like a 90s T-Rex feel. Try to move it here so you can kind of get like a side profile so you can really understand what I'm saying. Definitely has like almost that pre-Jurassic Park look, or maybe just post-Jurassic Park, like right after when we really started to see the appearance of Tyrannosaurus change. Kind of looks like what we have. I would actually say probably right after Jurassic Park, because you can absolutely see elements of a Jurassic Park T-Rex in this one. But it does look pretty fun, does look pretty cool. As far as the size goes, it is big. It's definitely a colossal figure. I would say probably pretty close to the size of the newer Super Colossal T-Rex for Rebirth, but we will take it outside here in just a little bit and do some comparisons to make sure. But it definitely looks huge. I'm going to measure it, but to do that, I have to bring the camera in a lot closer. So for a height, in the position it's currently standing in, which I feel like is a fairly natural position, you're looking at about 12 inches or 30.5 centimeters, pretty much on the dot for the spot that it's standing in right now. And then if we bring the body all the way over, and I still don't quite have the tail in screen, you can first of all see that the tail is definitely a bit too short, but that's not the end of the world, I guess. But for a length, I would say right around 32.5 inches or around 82.5 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to this Tyrannosaurus here, this colossal sort of Dinosaur World T-Rex. And you can very clearly see that, again, it is quite huge next to these others. And even if we go grab ourselves a standard Mattel T-Rex with the extreme damage version, you can see again massively smaller than this gigantic Dinosaur World T-Rex. So we are now outside because of course that's the only place I have room to bring out two colossal figures, and I have the newer Jurassic World Rebirth Colossal Tyrannosaurus, which is actually just slightly shorter, a little bit smaller than the older ones. So I feel like I don't really need to bring the older one out for a comparison. I think only this comparison will be probably necessary, but you can very clearly see that this T-Rex, although quite colossal, is a little bit smaller than even this Rebirth version. So when it comes to the Mattel T-Rex, as you can see, this one doesn't quite compare in the size department. It's a bit shorter and doesn't quite have, you know, the same body mass, but it still is a very large figure, no doubt about that. So we're going to go ahead and to show off the kind of swallowing action feature it has, we'll just stuff Muldoon in there, and as you can see, he kind of just disappears into the mouth, and he has now officially been eaten by our T-Rex, and to get him back, you're just going to have to dump him back out pretty much the same way he came. So this one's definitely a mixed bag for me, personally. I think it is a pretty cool toy, definitely a really cool figure, and again, if you can acquire one that's not broken, I feel like it would be pretty fun, and you might be able to actually use the articulation in the legs a little bit. It does actually articulate okay in the legs, and you know, basically just forward and back movement. I just realized now that I didn't actually show that, but you do have the standard leg articulation in the legs as well. But overall, it does look very impressive, and again, having a little bit of like a vintage sort of a feel, but at the same time, not all that vintage. Like I said, maybe like right after Jurassic Park, so from the 90s, which I don't know if that really constitutes as vintage, but It also kind of has elements of like the older versions of T-Rex in my opinion as well, but it does look pretty cool. The detail does look decent. It's vibrant, no doubt about that. It's not incredibly highly detailed like you would see on a Mattel T-Rex, but it does look good for what it is. Definitely has a rough and rugged look as far as the skin texture goes. I don't feel like the feet are all that, I mean they're definitely big, but they don't look terrible. Like some of the older Mattel Colossal Tyrannosaurus had gigantic feet. This one doesn't have that bad of larger feet, but they are a little bit bigger. The tail being short is a little bit of an eyesore, but overall it is still a pretty cool looking figure. It does feature some articulation. Some articulation works really nicely. Some areas like the head and everything, not so much because the upper jaw does articulate but doesn't stay in place. The lower jaw does articulate but doesn't move very much. You can also swallow small figures, which is pretty fun, I guess, but not really anything that's all that great. Overall, it's got some decent paint apps, fairly smooth paint application, and it does have paint from head to tail with only the dew claws missing, unfortunately. So it is a pretty cool release, but a little bit on the cheaper side if you ask me. If you are interested though, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase this on Smyths' website. Again, if you are out of the United Kingdom, I don't know exactly how you can get a hold of it, but if you can, I would say grab it. It's a fun figure overall. So again, check that link. If you want it or if you can get it, pick it up and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.